You thought One Punch Man was already at the peak?
It's only just warming up.
You thought there was no way Blast was gonna show up in this chapter?
Back in me.
I didn't get much sleep today. My phone was blowing up like crazy because guess what? Blast just shows up in the new One Punch Man chapter. And yeah, this chapter, oh my god, dude. We have been predicting this, we've been talking about this ever since Murata's last chapter, which was only like 10 days ago. Like, this dude draws at lightning speed, and it just keeps getting better and better. Oh my god, so there is so much to talk about in this chapter. Blast shows up. This did not happen in the one webcomic. Blast meets Saitama in this chapter. Oh boy, let's get into this. I'm so pumped. I'm so excited. Murata is just like blessing us. It's like every 2 weeks is like Christmas getting these chapters. I just can't even describe how good it is. The first thing I want to talk about here is the front page, which has this like astronaut who's holding a dark cube, but as you can see, it's kind of split into two. The planet, if you start with the top, the planet is half the moon with the ripples where Saitama jumped out, and the other half is like this eyeball staring down to say as if this is the monster god. It even seems to be like enveloped in some sort of space goo. I'm not really 100% sure, but it looks like there's some monster cells on the right side, and the left side is the planet. So they're making all this symbolism here between the planet and God, the monster god, and the dark cube, and this page alone has so much to digest. It almost seems like the upside down. Like if you ever watched Stranger Things, it's like the upside down here. This is what we're seeing. So maybe the monsters are coming from this sort of like parallel universe to Earth, which may be created by God. I think we can make a whole video talking about this on its own, but I want to get through this chapter and talk about Blast. Starting off on the first page, we saw how the last chapter ended off with Saitama, Flashy Flash, and the little monster friend. They're looking through the dark hole and they were peeping back at God. And they're using the little monster to, you know, he's using his little light, which was helping guide them. And all of a sudden, God starts talking to them, saying 3 visitors at the same time. How unusual. So it seems like this thing is talking via telepathy, and it's saying to Saitama and the rest, let me see if you're worthy vessels to bestow my power upon. Place your hand on that box and make a fervent wish. If you're worthy, you shall gain power from it. But if not, you will face confiscation. So right away, this is how God has given power to people like Homeless Emperor and Psychos. He kind of reveals himself to people I guess he deems as worthy, or if they're not worthy, he just kills them. But this is the deal that he's been making with some of these super powerful monsters that we've seen so far. And we actually do see Homeless Emperor in this chapter as well later on, which is kind of important because he's like the primary person that was granted power by God. Now Saitama thinks this is the Monster King. I guess he thinks it's Orochi because he one-punched Orochi. Maybe he thought Orochi was just some regular monster, or maybe he understands that it's the monster god, but I doubt that. I don't think many people even know about the monster god besides Blast. So let's keep going here. Basically, they're getting the opportunity to take the god power. Imagine if Saitama took God's power, what he would turn into. All of a sudden, near where that black box is, this singularity opens right behind them. So when I'm seeing this, I'm like, uh-oh, like what's happening here? Like, is God coming out, right? And they're like, is it him? And then boom, you see Blast enter. So it's like, oh my god, dude. Oh my god. All right, so Blast just shows up. And what I first thought was that he was coming out of the cube, but he's not. He's actually just teleporting there. So Blast is not in the cube. He's not imprisoned. He's not off fighting God somewhere. He's been on Earth this whole time doing his own thing. So that's a big revelation from this chapter alone. It'll explain this as it comes. So he says, oh good, I made it in time. And he pulls down his glasses and he looks so badass, dude, just pure man mode. And he's like, you haven't accepted the deal yet. Right. So another monster, huge revelation here. Blast is very knowledgeable of God, and it seems like it has been his goal over the last X amount of years to prevent God from gaining power, giving power, being unleashed onto Earth. It's very, very clear and evident here that God is the be-all, end-all, final boss of One Punch Man. He knows about the deals too. So his goal, as he establishes in this chapter, is to like basically find the cubes and stop people from taking the deal with the monster god. Now, also interestingly, Blast is covered in scars and damage to his suit. So when we saw him previously, he didn't have scars and damage. He wasn't wearing sunglasses. It's just his eyes were grayed out. And also his hair was black. It appears that he has grayish hair here now. Maybe he got into a scuffle with the monster god. It has been 18 years since we last saw him per Tatsumaki's flashback. So I don't know if those scars are from other battles, but you would think that this battle damage on him is from his combating with the monster god itself. You would think, and not necessarily true, but anyways, let's continue. So at first, nobody even realizes that this is Blast, and basically he tells us what the cube is. It's not a prison, it's a transmitter. So if you touch the cube, you will see God, and you have the opportunity to get his powers. And what Blast says is that there is a bunch of these, and they're scattered all over, and he has been collecting them. So, huge theory that I talked about with Shonen, I talked about it in my Blast in the Monster God Cube video, was that I think that there are multiple cubes. First of all, we saw 18 years ago, Blast had the cube underneath his arm when he rescued Tatsumaki, but we thought he was probably just trying to take that cube out of the research facility, and his primary goal wasn't to rescue Tatsumaki. So it appears that he is just going around Earth collecting these cubes, and that's why he's missing. He's got bigger things to deal with. He's worried about the monster god getting out or granting powers, so he's letting the S-rank heroes and everybody else defend the world from monsters while he is focusing on the actual god level threat at hand, and that is these cubes, meaning that these cubes have been around forever. And I think the reason on the cover page that they show the astronaut is because these things probably came from space, maybe a very long time ago, maybe before human life was even on Earth, and they crashed. Maybe it was part of some big alien meteor or something like that. And I think that's why one was so down deep in this like mining place. Like they dug it up down deep under where like the Monster Association is. So they're scattered all over. He's collecting them. The monster god knows it's Blast, right? He's like, Blast, you're Blast, aren't you? So they're using that text for the telepathy, and this god is so visibly angry and frustrated with Blast that, you know, Saitama and Flashy Flash are like holding their head, holding their ears, because this thing is furious at Blast. He knows that Blast is shutting him down. And this guy, I mean, he's almost like the same level of hatred that we saw from Elder Centipede and Blast. The top tier monsters hate Blast because, you know, he's too OP, man. He's too man mode for them. We see what Blast powers finally are, at least some of them. So, first of all, he has super speed, super strength, and he has control over black holes. So he is like Singularity Boy. So we haven't seen any psychic powers from him yet. We're going to see his speed in this chapter, which he's phenomenally strong, but you see how the cube just falls into like some black hole he creates and disappears. He can send it maybe to another dimension or pocket dimension, or just transporting it somewhere else onto Earth, presumably where the rest of the cubes are. So imagine an opponent that's super strong, super fast, and can create black holes and manipulate them however he wants. That's also how he can just teleport around the Earth. So he doesn't even have to travel. He can just black hole himself anywhere else on Earth in an instant. And that's what he did here. He didn't come from the cube being touched. He somehow knew and understood that a portal, the transmitter had been unlocked, and, you know, God was speaking to some other humans at this point, and he just teleported there instantly. So somehow he knows, maybe because he has the rest of the cubes, he gets some sort of notification or something like that. But yeah, boom, huge monstrous revelations in this chapter. Flashy Flash realizes that it's Blast, and he's like, he doesn't, 100% believe that. He's like, you can't be Blast, right? He's like, I should test him. Flash Flash is the fastest S-rank hero, perhaps the fastest person in the entire world next to Saitama, or so we thought, as he uses maximum speed, flashy kick, and tries to hit Blast, who just appears right behind him and says, calm down a sec. Bro, Blast is so cool. How could you not love this character? Like, you could tell he's just raw man. He's super powerful. He's got like a great personality already. I mean, I'm just so in love with this character. And I want to see him fight Saitama, but I don't know if we'll ever get to that point. Hopefully we do. But let's continue with the chapter. So obviously Flashy Flash sweating bullets right now because he just realized that his maximum speed just was nothing compared to Blast, right? Couldn't even scratch him. Blast just appeared behind him. Didn't even see it. I absolutely love that. I don't know if he teleported. He may have, or he may have just moved so fast. Probably more so it was speed, I'm guessing. So Blast says that time's flowing slower in this space than outside. We should get out of here quick. I'll take you to the surface. So I guess if you touch a transmitter and kind of open the portal to be able to talk to God, you get put in some sort of like room of spirit and time almost. It's almost like not reality. You're kind of like in this gateway. And that's why when the Monster Association was ripped out and simultaneously Saitama touched the cube, the hole that they should have been looking out into just the deep hole in the earth, they're looking out into the monster god because right now they're in some sort of like alternate, like halfway dimension or something like that. So Saitama is trying to ask Blast about his warping ability and he just says like, yeah, it's sort of like that. But he said, more importantly, why is there a monster with you? And you can see him really eyeballing this monster. I mean, you can tell that Blast probably has a lot of disdain for monsters. However, this guy in particular, or girl actually, has been helpful to Saitama and everything. And even Saitama gives it this stare, which is really funny. But Saitama just says, you know, she's a tour guide and she helped us. She has like this flashlight. And Blast says, all right, we'll be saying goodbye for now. I'm sure we'll meet again. And he lifts his hands up and those rings around his gloves start to glow. And I love this because in my One Punch Man, my fan animation that I was making of Saitama versus Blast, I did that too. I made that like a circle of power that would like charge up and shit like that. So I'm really happy that that's actually happening. But it looks so more so that he's like almost like creating like black like singularities out of those circles on his gloves. So is his suit amplifying that, or is this a power of his suit? Maybe he's just strong as fast and the suit is the thing creating singularities. That we don't know yet, but he slams his fists together and says, send my regards to Sitch and Tatsumaki, who are some of the only people who know what he actually looks like. And as he slams his fists together, he creates this like infinity symbol, which I guess is like the symbol for singularity or something like that. And he takes everybody inside of a portal and they just dip. So that's all we're going to see of Blast right here. But what I think that means is he's going to teleport them either to the surface or take them maybe to his Superman cave or whatever, like where he has all the dark cubes, and maybe explain a little bit more about God. Hopefully we might get that in a chapter or a few chapters. Or he may just take him to the surface and just disappear and we didn't see it. So what that means is they were just teasing God and Blast. I'm really so happy that that Blast came and saved Saitama and Flash. I don't know how much exactly he saved them, but this is exactly like what we wanted as fans. Like we wanted Blast to come, but we didn't want like we wanted the monster god to be like super hype and be like the end game final boss, right? So we didn't want Saitama to just punch him once and that was it, because that would have like just kind of hurt the continuity and the hype of the series. And that's exactly like Murata just knows what fans want, bro. Like I'm telling you, and One too, because apparently One, they're very like close knit, working on this story together. But we got like we got all this information about Blast and the monster god and the cubes in this chapter, and it didn't spoil any of the hype. It just added to the hype. So Murata is like the hype lord, and he's going to continue in this chapter with some more stuff. So let's continue on a little bit here. Basically what's happening is all of the S rank heroes are coming up. We saw at the end of the last chapter Tatsumaki made that like spear of destiny out of the whole monster association and thrust it down to go kill Orochi, who I believe dies in this chapter for good. And there's a little very, very interesting dialogue here. I almost feel like Murata watches like theory videos and reads Reddit and stuff about people theorizing about the series, because there's this super interesting dialogue here between a My Mask and Zombie Man and Child Emperor, where Child Emperor tells Zombie Man that he should be leading the team because he's much more suited to lead the team, whereas a My Mask says there should never be a pseudo monster leading our team of S ranks. It should be the ideal human, right? This is really important because a lot of people theorize that, including me, that Saitama and Zombie Man and people like Darkshine and maybe even Puri Puri Prisoner, a lot of these guys may all actually be monsters and they're just good guys, right? Because they have these just inhuman godlike powers, like things that aren't natural. It's not robotics. It's not like, like Genos or Child Emperor who use robotics. And we've seen a lot of monsters have telekinesis. So is Tatsumaki and Blizzard, are they monsters as well? There's a huge theory, a blanket theory and possibility that, God has basically granted powers to everyone and they're all monsters. Everybody who has powers is monsters, just about. And in any case, Zombie Man says to Child Emperor, we're all human after all. And so to me, that's like Murata saying like, no, your theory's wrong about that, right? But as you'll see in a minute, maybe not so much. But I thought this was really interesting. When I read this one bubble, I was like, oh, is Murata like talking to us right now? Is he saying like, yo, your theory's wrong? That's the feeling that I got from this one. So all of a sudden these like energy beams come out of nowhere and they're heading towards Child Emperor. Zombie Man pushes him out of the way and explodes on him. So we know that this is Homeless Emperor. And you can see Zombie Man is just like all bloodied, gory, and guts. And then you see Homeless Emperor saying, what part of you is human? So almost to like contradict and make our brains work even more, like, was he talking to us? Was he saying maybe you are right about the theory? Like, are you just screwing with us, Murata? Like, what are you doing, bro? But this is also really important because the cadre are here, right? This is what we've been waiting for. This is going to lead up to the big finale of the Garo fight. And so finally the cadre have come, and more than likely the next like probably 2 to 3 chapters are going to be the monster cadre versus the S-rank heroes. And the monster cadres are insanely strong, probably the level of, if not more powerful than Orochi, which I know doesn't really make too much sense, but if you read the webcomic, you'll know how insanely powerful they actually are. Tatsumaki throws the Spear of Destiny building thing down into Orochi. She like spirals it and it just like drills into the ground. Holy thick! Murata never ceases to disappoint. Oh, Murata, what am I gonna do with you, man? I don't know how he just draws these girls so damn thick. Damn thick! The drill like burrows down into the ground and you can see Orochi here basically just like disappearing into like dust, right? Like this has got to be the end of Orochi. This is a super cool attack Tatsumaki did. And the final page here is the drill drills down into where you see this like pyramid, right? And that's got to be the end of Orochi. But in this pyramid, if you go up and you look at the artwork, it looks like a bunch of people are making offerings to some sort of god being. Now that god being looks a lot more like Orochi than it does the monster god. But as we had theorized, as we saw from the promo art of the last chapter, and it showed this like ancient Egyptian pharaoh thing with the Ark of the Covenant and the black cube on top, that it's very possible that the ancient Egyptians are going to have some play in this, that they worship the monster god, and it has a lot to do with that. So I have a feeling Murata is just like laying more pieces of the puzzle for us to talk about and theorize this. Not 100% sure how the Egyptians and the pyramids really are going to correlate to the monster god, like what kind of meaning that has, besides the fact that these black cubes have been around the earth forever, right? Like since the beginning of earth or something like that. They've been there. Now it's very possible that Garo may be given his power from the monster god. Imagine if that happens, but Blast took the cube. So I don't think Garo, who's still deep underground somewhere, I don't think he is gonna get the deal from the monster god. I guess it's possible. I mean, Homeless Emperor and Psychos were somehow able to make the deal with the monster god, even though they hadn't touched a cube. So it appears that even without the transmitter, you're still able to sometimes communicate with the monster god. So it's possible that that will take Garo to the next level, but I don't really think so because he's already kind of transforming. We saw from the last time they showed him, he's starting to look like Venom and stuff. So I don't know about that, but yeah, I'm going to have to make some more videos talking about this week, guys, because there's just so much to digest in this chapter. I mean, the opening, even the cover page alone, there's so much to talk about. What does Egypt have to do with this? We know Blast powers. Where did he take Saitama and Flashy Flash? So much epic in like the last few chapters. It's really freaking mind-blowing what Murata is doing. This is a legend in the making, one of the best manga of all time, easily. It's just so absolutely amazing. I'm Mastar. If you guys enjoyed the video, leave a thumbs up, subscribe, and turn your notifications on, because I gotta make more videos talking about this. I just need to digest it a little bit more, because there's so much information in this chapter about things that we're super excited and hyped about. I'll see you guys on the next video. Peace.